Fame doesn't always bring happiness. The stage lights don't always feel like paradise. Some stars rose from the darkness of poverty, reached the pinnacle of fame, only to fall straight into the arms of death. All because of something that seems harmless in the world of celebrities: alcohol. It wasn't just at parties. Alcohol crept into recording studios, backstage, even onto the stage itself. Many saw it as a cure for depression, a spark for creativity, even a loyal friend. They never imagined that those bitter drops would betray them in the cruelest way, by taking their lives. The 19 stories I'm about to share are about Black celebrities who died because of alcohol. They passed in different circumstances, some suddenly, others wasting away, but all shared a common enemy they only recognized when it was too late. 19. David Ruffin, The Temptations, vocal king, died tragically. After a shock of alcohol and drugs. David Ruffin was the irreplaceable voice of The Temptations, the soul behind mega hits like My Girl. He was an icon of Motown's golden era, with explosive performances and a voice like no other. But behind the stage lights was a life spiraling into addiction, heartbreak, and despair. Around 3 a.m. on June 1, 1991, at the University of Pennsylvania Hospital, David Ruffin was pronounced dead. A drug overdose stopped his heart. Less than 12 hours earlier, David was at a black party in a Philadelphia house. There, vodka flowed freely and cocaine passed openly. He snorted relentlessly. He drank like tomorrow didn't exist. He floored the gas pedal, driving himself into a bottomless abyss. Mixing cocaine with hard liquor is the fastest recipe for suicide, and David chose that recipe. The stimulants threw his heart rhythm into chaos, while his liver, kidneys, and brain couldn't handle the surging toxins in his blood. He collapsed almost instantly. His body was rushed to the hospital in a deep coma, and soon after, his heart stopped forever. David Ruffin's death shocked the public, not just because he was famous, but as a brutal warning about the temptations behind fame. A man who stood at the peak, adored by millions, died tragically in a stranger's house after an out-of-control night. His solo career had a chance to rebound, but the demon of drugs and alcohol wouldn't let him seize it. It drowned everything: his voice, his career, his life, in a single night. David passed at 50, leaving immeasurable regret in fans' hearts. 18. Dinah Washington, the blues queen, died at night from a deadly mix of alcohol and drugs. Dinah Washington once ruled the music world. With a powerful voice, emotive performances, and a unique style, she was crowned the Queen of the Blues. Countless awards and chart-topping hits, Dinah reached heights many could only dream of. But her death came suddenly at the peak of her brilliance. On the night of December 13, 1963, Dinah hosted a small party at her lavish Detroit home. It seemed ordinary: music, close friends, and a bit of booze to unwind. But no one suspected that night she'd create a death recipe from which she'd never wake. Dinah was obsessed with her weight. She used diet pills containing amphetamine, a potent stimulant, dangerous if misused. After the party, she kept drinking hard liquor while her body was still processing the drugs. The mix attacked her heart, disrupting its rhythm and causing sudden cardiac arrest. Around 2 a.m. on December 14th, her husband, football player Dick Night Train Lane, found her motionless on their bed. No breath, no pulse. It was too late. Doctors confirmed Dinah died from a drug overdose, with alcohol amplifying the amphetamine's toxicity. A stellar career, radiant fame, all ended in one eerily quiet night. Dinah was only 39. She didn't die from a long illness or a tragic accident, but from a deadly mix of dangerous habits and unseen psychological pressure. If she hadn't drunk that night, if she hadn't used pills to control her weight, if someone had noticed sooner. But there are no ifs to save her from that bitter end. 17. Jimi Hendrix, a horrific death at 4 a.m. from asphyxiation while sleeping. Jimi Hendrix was an unmatched music phenomenon, a guitar legend who shattered rock's boundaries. He was a symbol of rebellion, freedom, and explosive creativity. In just a few short years, Jimi sparked a musical revolution that stunned the world. No one expected this rising star to burn out so soon. In the early hours of September 18, 1970, in a small London apartment, a strange, stifling death occurred. Around 4 a.m., he was found unconscious, face purple, mouth full of vomit. Hours earlier, Jimi had drunk red wine and taken 9 Vesparax pills, a powerful sedative, when the normal dose was just half a pill. He wanted sleep, an escape from stress, a break from an exhausting tour schedule. But alcohol and sedatives are a deadly duo. Together, they don't just cause drowsiness, they paralyze the gag reflex, the only thing that could save someone in this state. As Jimi vomited in his sleep, his body was too sedated to react. He asphyxiated slowly in his own vomit. No one heard a cry for help, no one noticed until it was too late. When paramedics arrived, it was over. He died at the scene. A genius at his peak, sought after worldwide, gone suddenly in a way no one could imagine. It was all due to exhaustion, carelessness, habitual drinking, and those foolish pills. Jimi was only 27, an age when others are still dreaming, yet he was already a legend, and already history. 16. Whitney Houston drowned in a bathtub. After mixing alcohol and cocaine, Whitney Houston was the golden voice of global music. She sent chills down spines with "I Will Always Love You" and countless timeless hits. With 6 Grammys and over 200 million records sold, Whitney was an irreplaceable icon of R&B and pop. But behind the stage lights, darkness consumed her. Life. On the afternoon of February 11, 2012, hours before a pre-Grammy party at the Beverly Hilton, where superstars gathered, Whitney was found lifeless in her bathtub, face submerged, heart stopped. The room looked like a crime scene, a half-opened champagne bottle, used cocaine, and scattered antidepressants. When medics arrived, it was too late. She was pronounced dead at 3:55 p.m. The cause of death shocked everyone. It wasn't a drug overdose, as many assumed, but drowning. How could a healthy adult drown in a shallow tub? The coroner's report revealed, before slipping into the water, Whitney used cocaine and drank champagne, creating a toxic compound called cocaethylene. It hit her heart, causing irregular rhythms, dizziness, and rapid unconsciousness. She couldn't stay awake to pull herself out. Her body shut down. Whitney sank into the water as her mind spun and her heart screamed. She asphyxiated slowly, in terrifying silence. Ironically, Whitney was trying to rebuild her life, preparing a comeback. But addiction, pressure, loneliness, and self-destructive habits clung to her. Alcohol, seemingly harmless, ignited the chemical reaction that killed her. She died on a day the world was set to celebrate music, the realm she once ruled. A haunting death that left global fans stunned and grieving to this day. 15. Lisa left Lopes, a drunken crash. Kills TLC's star on a Honduras street, Lisa Left Eye Lopes was an essential part of the legendary girl group TLC, which shook the music world with hit after hit, earning 4 Grammys. She was bold, explosive, full of energy, and seen as the group's rebellious soul. Not just the lead rapper, Lisa was a fashion icon, the fire that made TLC unique. At the height of her fame, she died in a tragedy that stunned the world. Around 5:30 p.m. on April 25, 2002, on a dusty road in La Ceiba, Honduras, where Lisa was retreating for rest and reflection, tragedy struck. Hours earlier, she joined friends for drinks. Rum and beer flowed freely. She lost track of how much alcohol she consumed. When she got behind the wheel of a Mitsubishi Montero SUV, she was in no condition to drive. On the way back, the car swerved, high speed, slow reflexes. She tried to avoid an oncoming vehicle. A sharp turn. The SUV lost control. Tires screeched. The vehicle veered off the road, spun multiple times, and flipped. Debris flew everywhere. Screams. The engine roared, then went silent. Chaos like a bomb scene. Lisa, not wearing a seatbelt, was thrown from the car, her head slamming onto the pavement. She died instantly. Others in the car were injured, but only Lisa died. Tests later confirmed her blood alcohol level exceeded the legal limit. Alcohol directly caused her loss of control and the tragic end. The bitterest part. Lisa was filming a documentary about rediscovering herself. The camera captured her final days, radiant moments, laughter, and the fatal instant. Her death was so sudden, so brutal, it was hard to accept. A star who'd touched the light was snuffed out by alcohol, seemingly harmless but deadly in a split second. 14. Lexii Alijai, the rapper's brutal death. After a New Year's party. Lexii Alijai was poised to be the future of female rap. A rising star with an emotive voice and powerful flow, she collaborated with Kehlani on the hit Jealous. Media dubbed her a new gem in American hip-hop. But weeks before her career could explode, Lexii died, and the reason chilled everyone. At 6 a.m. on January 1st, 2020, staff at the Lowe's Hotel in Minneapolis found her motionless in her room. No response, no pulse, no breath. An eerie silence. Medics were called, but it was too late. Lexii was pronounced dead on the spot, hours after turning 22. Hours earlier, she joined a lively New Year's party. Vodka poured endlessly. The mood was electric. Music, lights, dancing. In that moment, she used fentanyl, a painkiller 50 times stronger than heroin. Perhaps it was to ease stress, but alcohol and fentanyl together are lethal. They slow the heart, paralyze the nervous system, and stop breathing before you realize it. That's what happened. Lexii passed out silently. No one knew she was dying. No one called for help in time. She died in the hotel room where laughter had filled the air hours before. Her passing stunned the hip-hop community. A young talent, a rising icon, felled by a moment of carelessness. Fentanyl spares no one, and alcohol was the catalyst that pushed things beyond control. Lexii died too young, too talented. Her death a painful warning about a harsh truth showbiz often avoids. Substance abuse doesn't kill instantly, but when it strikes, no one escapes. 13. Big Mama Thornton, the blues icon, died alone. In a rundown boarding house, liver destroyed by alcohol. Big Mama Thornton shook America with Hound Dog, a song later overshadowed by Elvis Presley's cover. A pioneering black voice, she brought raw power and ferocity to every note. Despite her immense talent, the music industry drained her and left her in the shadows. On July the 25th, 1984, Big Mama's body was found in a shabby Los Angeles boarding room, alone, on a creaky bed in the stifling summer heat. Neighbors said she hadn't left her room for days. At the hospital, doctors confirmed her liver was completely destroyed. It was too late. Big Mama spent her final years in poverty and despair. Racism in the music industry cornered her. With scarce money and fading fame, she turned to alcohol as an escape. After small bar gigs, she drank hard liquor until she couldn't stand. The habit persisted for years, silently ruining her liver bit by bit. No one noticed her health decline. No big contracts, no media mentions, no major stages. Just a cheap rented room and worsening pain. Her death from liver failure due to alcoholism was a foretold tragedy, yet brutally harsh. She passed quietly with no grand funeral or crowds of mourners. The industry profited from her voice, then abandoned her to die in destitution. 12. Clyde McPhatter, the soul star, died young, liver, heart, and career, ruined by alcohol. Clyde McPhatter was the soul of the Drifters, paving the way for black artists to reach America's musical heights. His soaring tenor and commanding stage presence made him a soul and R&B icon. But his stardom didn't last forever. Early on June 13, 1972, at Bronx Lebanon Hospital, New York, Clyde McPhatter took his final breath at 39. His liver was shredded, kidneys failing, heart so weak you couldn't feel a pulse. It began with relentless bourbon drinking after leaving the Drifters. Without the spotlight, he sank into depression, scraping by with small gigs, meager pay, and crushing financial pressure. He used alcohol to forget failure, but the more he drank, the worse it got. In early 1972, he was hospitalized with severe abdominal pain, jaundiced skin, and bloodshot eyes, his liver nearly gone. Doctors confirmed alcohol had ravaged his liver, damaged his kidneys, and weakened his heart. Bedridden for weeks, he couldn't eat, reduced to skin and bones. No one visited, not family, not caretakers. Those who once cheered him were gone. His body refused to recover. Alcohol, once his escape, became a chronic poison, dragging him to the edge of life and death. In the end, it pulled him over. Clyde's death was the result of years of self-destruction from despair and abandonment in an industry that once lifted him to the skies. 11. Esther Phillips. The reborn star died before shining again, organs destroyed by alcohol. Esther Phillips, known as Little Esther, was a music sensation in R&B, soul, and jazz. She stood alongside giants, achieving success young, and despite falling into addiction's abyss, made a stunning comeback that awed the industry. But around 10 a.m. on August 7, 1984, at Harbor UCLA Medical Center, Los Angeles, Esther suddenly took her last breath at 48. A sudden death, but a predictable outcome after decades of alcohol and heroin silently eroding her body. For years, she drank gin nearly daily, especially before and after stressful performances. She'd overcome addiction, returned to the stage, and earned standing ovations. But her liver couldn't recover like her fame. In early 1984, Esther appeared pale, jaundiced, emaciated, and in severe abdominal pain. Her liver was in crisis. She was hospitalized with advanced liver failure, her kidneys also critically damaged. Doctors tried, but alcohol had wrecked everything inside. From the outside, people thought she was just tired from a packed schedule, unaware her organs were failing daily. Ironically, she died as her career was reigniting. Her new album was critically acclaimed, her name back on charts. But her body couldn't wait. Alcohol, once her crutch for pressure, was the main reason everything collapsed. A slow, painful death from a lifestyle once seen as surviving in harsh showbiz. A star who just reignited went out, taking with her the stages and lights she deserved. 10. Billie Holiday. The jazz legend watched until her final breath. Billie Holiday, the mesmerizing Lady Day, silenced America with her husky voice. Not just a jazz icon, she was a voice against injustice in a brutal era of racism. Her soulful ballads and haunting melodies carried an unmatched black spirit. But behind the dazzling stage, her life was a long string of bitterness. In July 1959 at Metropolitan Hospital, New York, Billie Holiday reached her life's end in a scene almost unbelievable. At 44, instead of resting with loved ones, she lay curled up in a hospital bed, body swollen, liver ruined, with police guarding her door. She was accused of heroin possession, though she barely had strength to breathe. Weeks earlier, she was admitted with severe abdominal pain, her body retaining fluid, legs so swollen she couldn't move. Her liver, ravaged by years of alcohol, failed, flooding her lungs, making each breath a labored wheeze. Doctors tried, but her body was too weak, worn by addiction and gnawing loneliness. At 3 a.m. on July 17, 1959, Billie took her final breath in that cold hospital room. No friends, no family, just despair and the rasping breath of a forgotten legend. Her bank account held just a few dollars. An era's icon, a voice that moved the world, left like a nobody under police watch. No one could imagine Lady Day, who graced America's greatest stages, departing in such a desolate scene. 9. Rufus Thomas. The funk legend died. Tragically, heart-shattered after a lifetime of alcohol. Rufus Thomas was a foundational pillar of American R&B and funk. Not just a singer with hits like Walking the Dog, he was a magnetic performer whose unique style no one could copy. He was Memphis's soul, an irreplaceable icon for decades. But on the night of December 15, 2001, that legend stopped. Around 11 p.m. at St. Francis Hospital, Memphis, Rufus Thomas took his last breath. Cause: heart failure. Behind those cold words was a lifetime of mistakes. Alcohol, the primary culprit that killed a legend's heart. Throughout his decades-long career, Rufus rarely left the stage without a drink in hand. From small clubs to grand stages, alcohol was his companion. After every performance, every event, he drank. Slowly, it eroded his body. No one thought the party staple would silently destroy his heart, bit by bit. In early 2001, he began feeling short of breath, chest pain. Fatigue lingered, but Rufus kept performing, kept drinking, until he couldn't bear it anymore, admitted in critical condition. His heart was too weak. Doctors tried, but the damage was extensive. His heart muscle couldn't contract normally. Blood flow slowed. His body failed. Despite constant care, no one could save the heart of an artist who lived fully for music and destroyed himself with alcohol. Rufus Thomas died at 84, leaving aching regret for those who heard his music. A legend didn't fall to old age, but to habits too deep. Alcohol didn't kill him in one night. It killed him bit by bit, day by day, year by year. When his heart gave out, nothing could save it. 8. Little Milton collapsed in bed after a stroke from alcohol-damaged blood vessels. Little Milton was a blues titan, captivating audiences with a powerful voice and timeless hits. He was a symbol of raw, honest emotion and vibrant stage energy. But in the summer of 2005, his energetic body began to crumble. On July 27th, Little Milton suffered a stroke at home. He was rushed to Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis in a deep coma, nearly motionless, reflexes faint, hope pinned on machines, and medical care. For years, after every performance, he poured himself whiskey to unwind. The habit wasn't harmless. Alcohol damaged his blood vessels, raised his blood pressure, and made a stroke increasingly likely. Despite doctors' efforts, his condition didn't improve. At 7 a.m. on August 4th, a second stroke hit. This time, there was no chance. Little Milton's heart stopped. He passed quietly, ending a storied journey because of what seemed harmless, daily drinks that silently killed him from within. 7. Otis Blackwell, the songwriting genius, felled after decades of bourbon abuse. Otis Blackwell was the mastermind behind iconic songs like Great Balls of Fire, quietly shaping the careers of rock and roll legends. Rarely in the spotlight, he was revered as a pinnacle of American songwriting. On the evening of May 6, 2002, around 8 p.m., at TriStar Centennial Hospital in Nashville, he took his final breath after a severe stroke. Hours earlier, Otis collapsed at home, unable to speak, body paralyzed. When paramedics arrived, he was critical. His brain was severely damaged. Despite efforts, there was no saving him. The root cause wasn't age, but what he clung to his whole life: alcohol. For decades, Otis drank bourbon like an endless well of inspiration. When stuck, he turned to it. But it didn't just steal his clarity, it wrecked his vascular system. Blood pressure soared with age. Vessels weakened, leading to the fatal stroke. 6. Jackie Wilson, collapsed on stage, lived vegetative for 9 years, died from alcohol and drug-damaged heart. Jackie Wilson, dubbed Mr. Excitement, was a 1960s R&B sensation, electrifying stages with wild energy and top hits. But behind the lights, he was lost in all-night parties. On September 29, 1975, in New Jersey, mid-performance before thousands, Jackie collapsed. His heart stopped momentarily. Years of whiskey and drug abuse triggered a heart attack, plunging him into a deep coma on stage. From that moment, Jackie Wilson never woke. He was hospitalized, living vegetatively for 9 years, sustained only by machines. What killed him wasn't a bullet or horrific accident, but what he saw as companions: hard liquor, stimulants, a relentless lifestyle. His cardiovascular system weakened over years, and when his heart overloaded, it shattered. On January 21, 1984, around 2 p.m., after nearly a decade immobile, Jackie Wilson took his final breath at Memorial Hospital. His family called it a release, but it was a haunting warning about the steep price of an unhealthy life. 5 O.V. Wright. The Golden Voice collapsed at 41 from alcohol and drugs. O.V. Wright was one of the 1960s to 70s most captivating soul voices, touching millions with music steeped in emotion and pain. But few knew he was tormented by his own inner pain to the point of no survival. At 4 p.m. on November 16, 1980, O.V. was rushed to Baptist Hospital in Mobile, Alabama. He struggled to breathe, chest in agony, body purple. Doctors fought to save him, but his heart was exhausted. He died suddenly at 41. The cause was years of abusing cognac and drugs to cope with stress, exhaustion, and loneliness. From grueling tours to late-night recordings, alcohol became habit, fuel, necessity. Drugs were never far behind. His body couldn't take it. Blood pressure spiked. His heart muscle weakened. The final shutdown came without warning. O.V. Wright's heart stopped, not from illness, but from everything he accumulated: fatigue, pressure, alcohol, drugs. It ended in hours, but the process brewed for years. 4. Wilson Pickett. The Soul King struck down by a ruined heart. Wilson Pickett, a soul icon, set stages ablaze with hits like In the Midnight Hour and Land of 1,000 Dances. He was Wicked Pickett, a name that commanded respect for his distinct voice and fiery performances. Sadly, on the morning of January 19, 2006, his passionate heart surrendered. Around 9 a.m., at his Virginia home, he collapsed with searing chest pain. Family called paramedics, but it was too fast. He reached Reston Hospital as his heart gave out. Doctors confirmed a massive heart attack, but behind it was a long story. For years, Wilson lived in endless parties where scotch and drugs were ever present. He drank after shows, backstage, even before performing. His body withered. Cholesterol soared. Arteries clogged. His heart weakened daily. He ignored it all. By the time he realized he was playing with death, it was too late. A great voice, a fiery soul, ended, felled by what he thought was mere stress relief. 3rd Grover Washington, Jr. Asphyxiated in a green room, saxophone legend collapsed after a lifetime in alcohol. Grover Washington, Jr. was indispensable to modern jazz. A saxophone master behind hits like Just the Two of Us and Mr. Magic, he breathed soul into millions of music lovers worldwide. On the evening of December 17, 1999, around 7:30 p.m., he collapsed suddenly in a CBS green room after a taping. His body hit the floor without a sound. Medics rushed him to St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital in New York. Efforts failed. His heart still beat, but his brain was severely damaged. He died hours later at 56. It wasn't just a random stroke. It was years of silently destroying his body with wine. They say a glass of wine daily is harmless, but he didn't stop at one. He drank to unwind after shows, parties, as a pressure release. The habit damaged his vessels, raised blood pressure, and led to a fatal stroke. No one expected a seemingly healthy habit to bring down such a giant. 2. Arthur Conley, sweet soul, music soul, ravaged by colon cancer. Arthur Conley, whose sweet soul music set stages ablaze, was a 1960s soul icon. He carried a generation with passion and fervor. But on the morning of November 17, 2003, his life ended quietly, far from any stage he once ruled, in a small home in Ruurlo, Netherlands. Around 5 a.m., he took his last breath after months of painful battle with colon cancer. Behind the disease was a long chain of choices he thought harmless. At his peak, Conley lived fast, fully. Rum was ever present at shows, parties, tense backstage moments. Even in the Netherlands, seeking peace, he couldn't stop drinking. Years of alcohol silently damaged his colon's lining, causing chronic harm. By the time cancer was found, it was too late. End stage, untreatable. He weakened rapidly, losing weight, in pain nightly. The cruel disease stole his final peaceful moments, a voice that once stirred America. 1. Natalie Cole, the Soul Queen. Collapsed on New Year's Eve. Natalie Cole, daughter of legend Nat King Cole, was a radiant soul star. Her powerful voice earned multiple Grammys and global admiration with hits like Unforgettable, a duet with her late father. But behind the glamour was a decades-long dark journey. In the 1970s and 80s, Natalie sank into alcohol and drugs, battling herself, trying to escape fame's pressure and fill an emotional void. Champagne was her constant at parties, award shows, big and small gigs. Over time, toxins accumulated, destroying her liver, heart, and weakening her immune system. By late 2015, her body rebelled. Constant fatigue, labored breathing, erratic heartbeats. On December 31st, around 10 p.m., as the world prepared to ring in the new year, Natalie took her final breath at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. Doctors couldn't save her ravaged heart. Heart failure was the final cause, but its roots were her tortured past. She left amid profound regret, ending a glorious life scarred by her own choices. They stood under dazzling stage lights, surrounded by fame, applause, and glory. But backstage were endless binges, bottles never leaving their hands, nights using alcohol to fill the void in their hearts. You probably didn't expect 19 black artists to fall to alcohol, a common fixture at celebrity parties. If these stories of lives swallowed by alcohol's temptation break your heart, leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to join us in uncovering more untold stories behind the glamorous yet treacherous world of entertainment.